I'm just lighting the stove this morning, and that's Betsy behind me, yeah. And cutting up some wood. Use a wee jigsaw, by the way, just in case anybody wants to know. Well, sometimes just the big loppers, you know, for cutting up kindling. But bigger logs, I use a little jigsaw because I just find that easy to use. So I'm going to take a run up to Sligo. I want to get a leaf blower because all that sweeping up of leaves. Oh, there's the postman. I best go and see what he has for me. Aviva. Oh, the only thing that I don't like about this time of year is that I have to get my accounts into the accountant because I'm still paying tax. I'm still a working woman, as I could not survive on the pitiful pension I get from the UK. Yes, those people who kept £14,000 of my money. Anyway, so I have my car insurance to pay. I have my medical insurance to pay. Not in yet. I think they've been sending me emails that I need to look at. And I've got to pay. Oh yeah, of course, then I've got to, you know, once the accountant has done everything and got it off to the government, I then have to pay my whatever I have to pay. So on the run up to Christmas, Yuletide, it's a pretty lean time for me, but that's okay. I'm a very lucky person in that I have always been able to cut my cloth accordingly. You know that old saying? So you live within your means. I haven't had a credit card now for over 21 years and no intention of getting one. I don't know what my credit rating is, and it doesn't bloody well matter. Yeah. And I have a debit card. So if it's in the bank, yeah, I can pay it. If it's not, I can't. So yeah, living within one's means. And it's not something, you know, which is very popular amongst younger generations. But you see, I grew up, I was born in 55, so I grew up in a time when there was no such thing as credit cards, number one. Number two, if you wanted to buy an item, a big item, like a washing machine, you got it on, it wasn't even called credit. What was it called? Some of you may be more mindful of this. And it wasn't pay as you go or anything like that. It was, I think it was just called, you got it on the tick. That was a slang word for it, you know, the tick. Well, of course, that was always a wee bit shameful too, you know, because you owed money. And when I was growing up and as a teenager and a young mother, it was shameful to owe money. And now it's de rigueur. Yeah. In fact, you get very proud of your credit rating and, oh, I've got to borrow money in order to keep my credit rating high. How did that come about? Borrowing money in order to have a credit rating, a good credit rating. Weird and wonderful. The weird and wonderful world of, I don't know what to call people like that anymore, you know? Oh, yeah, something else. The word shame has gone out the window. Nobody feels, you're not allowed to feel shame now, you know. And you know, shame was a tool that was used in society, sometimes in a terrible way. And I'm aware of that. because of the era I grew up in, you know. There was a downside to that, definitely. But, you know, like letting your children go to school without brushing their hair or something, that was regarded as being shameful. And then there was a lot of society holds, oh, I don't think I'll go into that. Brings back bad memories. It's a very unusual world now that we inhabit. Large parts of it I don't recognise. I'm not talking about the geography of, you know, the earth. The earth is so beautiful, but the way that so-called civilization has moved forward hasn't moved forward at all, really. Except in our awareness of things. Anyway, look, I'm going to read my, let me just see what my insurance on my car is for this year. Oh, God. Because this goes up, doesn't, oh my goodness me. €467.19 if I make a single payment. That's renewing online. If I call, so if I make a phone call to renew, it's 519. If I pay by installments online, it's 604. If I pay by installments over the telephone, it's 672. Well, I better renew online, hadn't I? That's a whack and a half. Yeah. That's for the year, for those of you in the United States, because I know that... Oh, wait a moment, no, hold on, that's not car insurance. Oh, it is car insurance. Comprehensive. All right, okay. Okay, there we go. Ta-da! So this is a bowl of mostly frozen fruit that I've taken out of the freezer and some chopped apple. And I've just set it on top of the stove to defrost a little bit. I'm going to mix that with some cinnamon and some plain yogurt. Now, I've made a huge effort to cut sugar out of my diet. So what I use instead is a number of sweeteners based on spices. And I find that spices, especially cinnamon and ground ginger, add so much to the taste of my food. So, I'm about to have my breakfast come lunch. It's called a brunch. I've got lots of fruits in there, including some homegrown apple. I've put in lots of different spices to taste, along with a couple of good handfuls of oats. I've cooked it down just for about 5 minutes. There it is, banana on top and yogurt on top. And I can tell you it is yummy, and there's no sugar added at all. This is the secret, I think, for me, for losing weight. Keep away from the sugar. So one of the things that I do at this time of year is buy some more bulbs, and I've done this year after year. So as a consequence, come the spring, there are lots of flowers. I normally plant these into pots, so I have little kind of movable feasts, as I call them. And then after they've flowered, I'll plant them out in the woodland or the garden and build up that beautiful spring display. So I've got 4 packets here, and I'll be putting these into pots today. I'm always saying this, I know, but autumn really is my favourite time. I'm sure of it. I know I chop and change, and I go very enthusiastic around it about spring and summer, and especially Bealtaine. But autumn is lovely. I think it's just the soft winds, the leaves falling, the reconnection with the animal world, because you begin to see, the badger, the fox, a lot of the birds come back into sort of snuggling down into the woodland. So you hear an awful lot of bird song and rustling and squawking, and it's lovely. I love the autumn. So recently I've had plans drawn up. Yeah, this is quite exciting. Plans drawn up for a viewing platform. Yeah, it's going to be up here, quite near to the cottage, and it's very much to be able to look down over the forest canopy, and also to create a sort of a place, especially where my grandchildren can get together, and to be able to appreciate, even without thinking about it, to be able to appreciate the woodland and the trees, and to feel a sense of belonging to it, because I think that memories are really important, yeah. So that's my plan, and the young guy who comes up and helps me with the garden is going to help me build this. And so it's just a case of making a plan, trying to use some of the trees that have fallen over storms as well, because I think that's going to really add to it. And it's just gonna add a totally new sort of energy to the land and to the Bealtaine project. Be a little bit like a crowning glory. I want to talk just for a short while about Celtic poetry and how important it is to painting the pictures of this land. It refers to the ancient and modern traditions of the Celtic cultures, especially of Ireland. Now there's some also within Scotland, Wales and northern France, Brittany. But it includes ancient works, a lot of which are nature focused, and in the early Christian times as well, so they're monastic. Let's never forget that for about 500 years, Ireland and its Christianity was completely cut off from Europe and the Vatican and the Pope. So we developed a very deeply spiritual form of Christianity called Celtic Christianity, which is very meaningful. Even today, the monastic poetry developed from about the 8th century, and again it was, religious but very nature themed. So very much evoking that sense of what it means to be a Celt and living close to nature. And within nature, of course, there were so many gods and goddesses, and in general nature was worshipped. It was sacred. It was hugely important to the welfare of the people and the welfare of the tribes, and the ongoing idea of sovereignty. And sovereignty was and remains especially important for those of us living here in Ireland. These are some of the beautiful apples. Now that looks like bruising, but it's not. These are the colours that this particular apple comes out. And I'm not sure of the name of it because I planted so many trees and all the names have gone. But it is rather beautiful. So if you know the name of this apple, with all these beautiful colours and depths of colour, then perhaps you'll let me know. So I've got to show you because I borrowed a leaf blower from my daughter and it took me literally like about 2 minutes, if that, to clean up the veranda. I have ordered the leaf blower from a company down in Sligo and I should be getting a phone call from them Monday or Tuesday to say I can go and collect it. The reason why I'm getting this leaf blower, because there have been a few critical comments, yeah, after the last video, is because with the leaf blower, I don't have to move any of the furniture or any of the bits and bobs that I have along here, okay? I can just literally go along, it's done. It's battery operated, so it's not one of those big noisy ones. It's not one of those oil-fired commercial things that guys like to hoof around with them. And it's used for like a minute or two. I'm not going blowing leaves all over the garden. I'm literally just doing the back of the cottage and the front of the cottage. And you know why? Because if I don't, I get lots of leaves inside the house because I'm in and out all the time. Not that I needed to explain all that, surely. Look at these beautiful colours that are evolving. Aren't they beautiful? And I'm going to be just going round the front here because I want to show you the front of the cottage where I have used the leaf blower for about a minute, literally a minute. Okay, so yeah, just to keep the leaves away from being tramped into the cottage. See, look at that. Now normally I would have to lift the mats, clean them off, sweep, pick up leaves by hand, etc. Now I did this last night, so I've just literally just cleared this little area. That's all. There we go. I can go into the cottage without tramping loads and loads of leaves in. Again, do I have to explain this? It seems that for a small minority of people, just, half a dozen, yes, I have to. Anyway, on a more cheerful note, or should I say a more positive note, look at the colour of this cosmos. Isn't that beautiful? And there's the Michaelmas daisies. So I managed to get to the hairdressers on Wednesday up in Enniskillen and I got my hair cut. It was getting a bit long. And while I was there, I bought this little dress up in Asda. It wasn't too expensive. It was actually in the sale. I'm wearing it with my vintage jacket, which is yonks old, over 2 decades old, and my brown boots. No doubt there's a sort of a 60s vibe going on here with my clothes, but then I've got to mention something which I think is quite important for everyone who loves fashion and have lived as long as I have lived. So I'm 70, so each decade there's been a whole new fashion sort of eruption, and I look back on all the various fashions over the years, and what I've done is I've taken what I like the most, what I think suits my energy and suits my, looks, and I've adapted them all to wear now, which is why I love vintage, because you can play about so much more with vintage. Waistcoats I love. This little skirt that I'm wearing is like a little sort of combat skirt. It's in khaki, so it's a bit like the combat trousers. It's very practical actually, because it's got lovely deep pockets, and the waistcoat keeps me warm as well. And I'm wearing it with tights and with little ankle boots. But then I can quickly change from the ankle boots into Wellingtons, which you'll see in a moment, or wellies as we like to call them. So yeah, here we go. So this is me wearing my wellies and my Barbara jacket. And again, the Barbara jacket is something which is sort of classic. It's very practical. This is a thick one, a thick short Barbara jacket. It's lined, it's padded. It has a little internal waistcoat with a zip up. Again, it's got lovely deep pockets, and I'm wearing my wellies with it. And, I can hop into town wearing the wellies. This is the countryside. And in particular, it's Ireland, so there's going to be rain. And it's lovely to be able to dress reasonably fashionable for the day that's in it.